Right, welcome back to this year's annual conference from the Notaries of Europe. During the afternoon session, we're going to focus our attention on digital justice with an opening session where we will hear about recent achievements in digitalization from the Notaries of Europe, and a panel discussion where we will examine the latest initiatives coming from the European Commission. But before we dive into these topics, let me first give the floor to Mr. Didier REYNDERS, the European Commissioner for Justice, who will open this session with a pre-recorded video address. So let's listen now to Mr. Didier REYNDERS.
Monsieur le Président, Mesdames et Messieurs, je suis heureux de m'adresser à vous à l'occasion de la conférence annuelle du Conseil des notariats de l'Union européenne. La pandémie de Covid-19 a constitué un test de résistance important pour les systèmes judiciaires de nos États membres. During the worst of the pandemic, many member states had to suspend court hearings or limit the availability of public services, including those provided by judicial authorities. The crisis has therefore put the institutional integrity of our justice systems at risk. It has become a threat to the very principle of the rule of law. Digitalisation is not a cure-all solution to the emerging socio-economic challenges of our times, but it does offer clear opportunities. Digitalisation can help not only to counter the ill effects of the pandemic and secure the continuity of the rule of law. It is also a chance to make a major leap towards modernizing Europe's justice systems. This is why the swift and ambitious digitalization of our societies and economies is one of the top priorities on the Commission's agenda. Indeed, one of the concrete objectives for Europe's digital decade is to ensure that by 2030, all public services are also accessible online. Legal professionals are an integral part of our legal order. So, while the Commission has been assessing the digitalization of justice measures proposed under the Recovery and Resilience Facility, we have been actively encouraging Member States to ensure that their views and needs are catered for. I warmly welcome the civil law notaries' long-standing commitment to support the use of digital tools in their work in this respect, whether in the area of secure communication between notaries and clients, the digitalization of public registers, or the creation of the European Directory of Notaries. The European Area of Freedom, Security and Justice is also due for a major digital upgrade. Like other issues that Member States have faced, EU cross-border judicial interactions were not immune to the challenges resulting from the pandemic. So, on the 1st of December this year, the Commission adopted its ambitious digital judicial cooperation legislative package. The package comprises 3 legislative initiatives. First, the proposal on improving digital information exchanges in cross-border terrorism cases aims to integrate the counter-terrorism register in Eurojust's technical and legal framework. It therefore enables Eurojust to fulfill a more proactive role in supporting and strengthening coordination and cooperation between the national investigating and prosecuting authorities. Second, a new proposal on the joint investigation teams, which have proven to be one of the most successful tools for international cooperation in criminal matters. The Commission's new proposal intends to significantly facilitate the work of the joint investigation team's members by providing them with a common IT collaboration platform. Lastly, our flagship initiative aims to introduce a digital communication channel between the competent authorities of the member states and between individuals and business and the competent authorities in EU civil, commercial and criminal cross-border proceedings. I'm aware that legal certainty is a point of particular importance to Europe's notaries. In this respect, our proposal will address the legal recognition of electronic documents, electronic signatures, and electronic seals. Also, the proposal will address the legal admissibility of video hearings in cross-border cases and the payment of court fees. Civil law notaries are integral to the functioning of the open area of justice, both as stakeholders and competent authorities in certain cross-border cases. I'm therefore counting on the support of your Council and its members for the success of this key initiative and to help implement it. Digitalization is not a goal in itself. At the same time, it allows us to efficiently respond to the challenges of the times. Also, in the digital age, we must provide our legal community, individuals and businesses with the modern means for access to justice that they deserve. Cependant, pour que les instruments numériques déploient toute leur utilité, les notaires doivent les connaître. La stratégie de formation judiciaire européenne pour 2021-2024 a fixé l'objectif ambitieux de 30% par an de notaires formés aux droits de l'Union européenne et aux instruments de coopération judiciaire transfrontière. Les formations auxquelles les notaires prennent part doivent aussi leur permettre de savoir utiliser les outils en ligne de la coopération judiciaire. Vous aurez aussi noté que la stratégie de formation judiciaire insiste sur l'importance de l'état de droit et des compétences professionnelles des praticiens du droit. Je salue les formations transfrontières que vous avez organisées sur la lutte contre le blanchiment de l'argent. Le respect de l'état de droit passe aussi, et sans doute, surtout, par les attitudes et décisions quotidiennes que vous prenez. Le thème de votre conférence est donc le bienvenu, puisque les notaires, comme les autres professionnels de la justice, ont leur rôle à jouer. Je vous souhaite des échanges très fructueux.
Right, thanks to Didier REYNDERS for this opening address. We will debate the content of the European Commission's proposals during the panel discussion, but first let's turn our attention to what the notaries are doing when it comes to the digitalization of justice. And to introduce the topic, let me give the floor to Mr. Tamás PARTI, the president of the Futurology Forum at the Notaries of Europe, who is joining us here physically in Brussels. Mr. PARTI, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, dear colleagues, law and digitalization, two different words and two interdisciplinary approaches. Well, the digitalization with artificial intelligence inside promises us measurability and predictability. However, this is not entirely true. We live in an exponential age, and everything accelerates in the exponential age. The main driver of exponential development is digitalization, which is augmenting physical space with cyberspace and enabling global human interactions that often go beyond the current possibilities of state and federal norm building based on public authority. At the same time, rapid change puts the legal system in a time crunch. What do we mean by digitalization? The true nature of digitalization, free from anthropomorphic approaches, is described by data science. Digitalization, in a nutshell, from data science perspective regarding the keynotes, is the following. Datafication, the transformation, the physical world into data, big data paradigm, to see the value in the data and to research it, machine learning and deep learning, especially the NLP applications, Google, BERT, OpenAI, GPT-2, 3 and 4 in the near future, Facebook AI research laser solution, Microsoft MEB model, and multimodality. It means that the application of these models does not stop at the language, but in the near future, we can talk about a kind of multimodality, as we can read on the GPT-4 under development, which is 500 times the size of GPT-3. And of course, AI, breaking away from misleading anthropomorphic approaches, the first general-purpose exponential technology, or highly sophisticated statistical algorithms that operate under the joint control of algorithms and humans. The digital world is therefore a very orderly, contradiction-free, and predictable world. And one of the most sensitive aspects of interdisciplinary approaches is the need to make up concepts of different disciplines. In the context of the digitalization of law and the interaction between law and digitalization, one of the most important issues is whether law is measurable, and if it is, whether the law may be predicted. The first question, however unpleasant for the law, must be answered in the affirmative, since digitalization itself is based on measurement. So if there is legal digitalization, the fact that the law is measurable also exists. It is digitalization itself that creates the measurability of law and also the possibility of observing it in unprecedented detail. In order to answer the second question, however, we need to draw another discipline that can describe phenomena in terms of their dynamics and interactions, and this is the field of system theories for complex system theories, which are essentially contemporaneous with digitalization. And what are the complex system theories? These are a special field of systems theories from the 70s and 80s of the last century, when some scientists observed that the different systems start to behave differently, exhibiting new properties once they reach a certain level of compositeness. And it leads to modern and postmodern complexity theories. The rise of complex system research is generally associated with the founding of Santa Fe Institute in the spring of 1984. Complex system can be found in many disciplines, and the modeling possibilities and concepts of system theory that can be applied to them can be applied to any complex system, thus including the legal system, regardless of the discipline. The subject of this scientific approach is the behavior of the whole complex system, which examines how the parts of the system interact with each other and with the system environment. It focuses on the functioning, behavior, and properties of systems. The emphasis is on understanding the relationships and dependencies between the parts of the system and how these relationships and dependencies determine the properties of the system as a whole. The complex system must always be defined in relation to its boundaries, the entities within these boundaries are the element of system, while the entities outside these boundaries are the environment of the system. Complex systems should be studied in their domain-specific context, taking care not to reduce the complexity of the system under study in the modeling process. Complexity theory based approaches can capture the functioning and evolution of the legal system and its related properties more broadly and accurately by being able to interpret legal system beyond its interactions in its functioning and evolution over time. And now let's see what are specificities of the complex system. Emergent phenomena. It means series of unexpected phenomena, non-linearity, contradiction, inconsistency in the system. Feedback and feedback loops. The main area of human intervention because the changes in the environment are adapted to the legal system by legal professionals, by the human part of the system, and the environment changes exponentially. And more features, spontaneous order, adaptivity, networks, multi-layered system, nested complex systems, dynamics, cascading anomalies. Altogether, self-development, networks, and transitions states. It means being on the border of chaos and order. An important element of complex system theories is its methodology, the network research. Network research helps us to understand the structure and operation of the systems. As we will see, it also provides evidence that the law is a complex system also in its very first layer, which is human rights level. What is the characteristic of the complex system networks? Scale-free networks are characteristics of complex system. Preferred links, hubs, unequal distribution, feedback loops. If a legal system is characterized by such networks, this in itself indicates that the law is a complex system. The pioneers of this research also found this characteristic in the legal networks, just like me. Here it is, one of the evidence. Networks in the first regulatory layer of law, a possible network of fundamental rights. The existence of the prominent nodes, for example, 2, 5, 6, 15, 18, 33, also points to complex systemic features in the system of fundamental rights. And you can clearly see the feedback loops in the tangled set of edges. It is a very small word. Our fundamental rights are only 2 steps apart. Each directly or indirectly is involved in each and every legal relationships. Special care must be taken. The word of law, unlike the digital world, is a controversial word of little predictability. But why is so important to prove that law is a complex system? If law is a complex system, then simplistic approaches can lead to erroneous conclusions. inconsistency, in other words, non-linearity, is not a flaw, but the nature of the law, of the legal system, which cannot be avoided even by the most careful legislation and judicial practice, and must therefore be accepted and expected. It means human involvement is necessary in the legal procedures. In thinking about law, we must take account of self-evolution, the emergent phenomena that results from it, the dynamics of law. The nature of law is such that there is little or no predictability of its processes. Feedback processes, the main means of self-regulation of the legal system, is a very sensitive area. Human involvement is necessary also. All this sets the limits of sensible normative regulation and sensible digitalization. Overly detailed regulation or extensive automation inhibits human feedback loops, reducing the system's adaptivity, slowing and eventually halting self-improvement, leading to decline. So for the law, the primary issue is not whether it is possible to produce, for example, the world's most perfect draft contract of sale, but how to translate environmental changes into the field of law. And it means the necessity of human intervention also. All our legal relationships involve all our fundamental rights. The specificities of our different legal relationships determine the primary fundamental rights involved, but in second step, all our fundamental rights are involved, which is particularly important in the case of longer-term cross-regulatory relationships, such as company foundation, real estate transactions, financing, and contracts of carriage, etc. The development of the law therefore requires that its complexity be preserved together with a wide scope of human feedback, which clearly sets the limits and constraints on legislation and legal automation. So the law is a complex system. The guarantee of the evolution of law is the human assistance, the human contribution. Therefore, the protection of the human factors, the human contributions and assistance in the legal system is of paramount importance. So please protect the human part of the legal processes, protect the clients, but also the judges, prosecutors, lawyers, and also notaries. Thank you for your attention. Thank you very much for the floor.
Thanks, Mr. PARTI, for this interesting introduction to data science and how this interacts with legal systems, a very complex thing indeed. Now, for the first presentation in the series, we're going to turn to Mrs. Katrin ROGGEMAN, the President of the Royal Federation of Belgian Notaries. Mrs. ROGGEMAN is joining us here in Brussels, in the studio, in the offices of Notaries of Europe. And she will tell us more about the creation of online companies. Mrs. ROGGEMAN, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Dear colleagues, I would like to start this panel by presenting you the Belgian platform Start My Business. First of all, I would like to thank the organizers of this conference for inviting me here today, as well as the European policymakers who are attending, and everyone who is following from near or far away. We have come a long way, from the earliest public writers in the old societies, via the Roman Empire, to where we stand today. We also look ahead, and today, especially, we look at how together as notaries, we can shape the future of the European Union by continuing to provide just that what the European citizen expects from us. Independent legal advice, legal certainty, a person they can trust, who will personally guide them during the most important moments of their lives, and all that in an even more digitalizing world. As you know, the European legislator gave the member states the task of providing for the online constitution of companies by the 1st of August of this year. This being a competence of the Belgian notaries, the Federation gladly took on this project and has successfully worked together with the government to meet the set deadline. On August 1st, I personally signed the first fully digital Constitution Act in the presence of our Minister of Justice. I will show you a short video that was made during that day.
Start My Business is het nieuwe platform waardoor een vennootschap volledig digitaal kan worden opgericht. Dat betekent dat de cliënt, de ondernemer, dus kan inloggen via het platform Start My Business en zo samen met de notaris zijn vennootschap volledig digitaal kan oprichten en tekenen.
Voor ondernemers moet het vooruitgaan en zeker bij de opstart van een bedrijf. En vanaf nu zal het voortaan mogelijk zijn om volledig van op afstand digitaal een bedrijf op te richten dankzij Start My Business. Dat is vrij uniek, want we zijn samen met 2 anderen de enige in Europa waar dit mogelijk is. En dat allemaal dankzij de inspanningen van het notariaat die al lange tijd inzetten op digitalisering.
De band met de notaris die blijft volledig, die is des te belangrijker, want er is altijd bijkomend advies dat uiteraard verleend moet worden. Bijvoorbeeld moet ik voorzien dat mijn vennootschap onroerend goed kan kopen. Wat als ik zelf als ondernemer gehuwd ben? Kan ik dan alleen een vennootschap oprichten? Het zijn allemaal vragen waar de ondernemer in eerste instantie niet aan zal denken, maar waarvoor de notaris dus beschikbaar blijft om dat advies ook ter zake te kunnen verlenen.
Het platform op zich is zeer handig om te gebruiken en daarnaast is het ook zeer duidelijk welke informatie de notaris nodig heeft om de vennootschap op te richten.
Voor het notariaat heeft het digitaal kunnen oprichten van een vennootschap uiteraard voordelen. Wij willen het notariaat ook versterken in de digitale wereld. Die evolutie is niet meer omkeerbaar, wij gaan daarin verder. En voor ons is dat ook zeer belangrijk om de mensen op die manier ten dienste te kunnen staan.
We werken allemaal heel graag op verplaatsing. Is dat nu op een zwembad, in een koffiebar of eender waar. Nu kun je dat ook gewoon in je agenda inplannen met een digitaal gesprek met je notaris via Start My Business. En je overloopt alle belangrijke punten, de akten overlopen, eigenlijk de normale manier zoals dat je fysiek zou doen. Maar vanaf heden kan dat ook via Start My Business online om je vennootschap op te richten.
Het betekent ook een enorme tijdswinst. Hij hoeft zich niet meer te verplaatsen. En bovendien blijft de adviesverlening van de notaris, want het tekenen zelf gebeurt via een videoconferentie samen met de notaris, waardoor dus de partij en de notaris de akte digitaal zullen tekenen. Het contact blijft, dus alle garanties zijn verzekerd.
Ik vind Start My Business een aanrader.
Ja, zeker.
Yet you need to know that the Federation did not have to start from scratch when it came to the online formation of companies. Other tools were already in place for notaries, and it were those tools that allowed us for a swift development of this new fully digital act in company law. Since 2000, notaries work with a single digital system, and via this system the notary already fills company documents directly and digitally for many years. Then, of course, COVID has led to an acceleration. In a few weeks, a legal framework was created for issuing a digital power of attorney, signed at a distance, fully online. Also, the Federation has in the course of the years gained a lot of experience with IT platforms and customer journeys. And there are several projects to show for it. For example, we have Bidit. Bidit is an online auction platform for real estate. And then there is EasyMe, a platform and digital safe for the citizen where he can store all kinds of important documents in a highly secured environment with all information stored on Belgian servers. Let me stress again that providing legal certainty is the core of the notary's tasks, and EasyMe provides it. And then there is eStocks, an electronic stock register in co-creation with the Institute of the Accountants, as we are very well aware that we can aim higher and further when we work together. This leads me quickly taking you through the Start My Business platform, where the notary can provide the businessman with a Digital Company Act. The platform works in 10 steps, and they go as follows. The first one, it first and foremost provides clearly understandable information about the constitution of a company in Belgium. The businessman then registers via a secure identification means, after which it chooses the notary, also directly on the platform, and enters all necessary data. The platform indicates exactly what information is needed and what is still missing. Throughout this process, the notary advises the client, also via the platform, which results in the notary reviewing all uploaded information while performing the necessary checks, preparing the draft Incorporation Act, and sharing it with the businessman. Together, they schedule a date for the video conference, during which the notary complies with all legal requirements, such as making sure the businessman is in full understanding of the document he is about to sign, both concerning his professional and his personal life. The legal obligations for an authentic instrument have not changed, and rightly also. And then, both the businessman and the notary sign the act digitally with their e-signature. As a final step, the notary prepares the post-act formalities and makes sure that the businessman gets his business number of his company within a couple of hours. This video brings it all together. Let me emphasize that the notary is involved in this process in the same manner as he would be in a fully paper procedure, which, by the way, still exists. In practice, we have noticed that personal contact and the face-to-face encounter with the notary is still important. The notary thus, in both the physical and online environment, provides the same guarantees, legal certainty and trust for the citizen, regardless of whether the citizen operates in a purely national level or ventures into business abroad. And when we look ahead, when we look at the challenges we face and at the priorities we think we should set, the principles of legal certainty and preventive justice are of paramount importance. It is conferences as the one we are holding today that are the perfect moments to emphasize the important role notaries play in providing legal certainty to the citizens of the European Union, as well as to national governments. With the ever-growing number of citizens who make use of the freedoms the treaties provide and the increased number of digital steps the EU takes, the notary is in an excellent position to offer the best of both worlds. Making use of technology gives the notary more time for that other very important aspect of legal certainty, the human touch. This means taking time for personal conversations with clients, especially in these times, making sure they feel assured when they leave the notary office, providing them the guarantee that their important documents are compliant with all legal obligations and can be used with the same effect throughout the European Union while securely stored for life. And let me end with this quote of Charles Darwin. It is not the strongest of the species that will survive, nor the most intelligent. It is the one that is most adaptable to change. I thank you very much for your attention.
Thanks very much, Mrs. Katrin ROGGEMAN, for this impressive presentation about these online services which are now available in Belgium.
Absolutely, thank you.
Next up now is José Carmelo Llopis BENLLOCH, a notary in Spain, who will tell us more about the EUdoc project on communication and cooperation between European notaries. Mr. Llopis BENLLOCH, the floor is yours.
Hello, everyone. Next slide, please. It is a great honor for me to speak to you here in order to present the EUdoc project, which is a modern, user-friendly, and fully operational IT platform made by and for European notaries. Next slide, please. But first, we need to go back to the start. European notaries have always been involved in cross-border situations, not just by providing legal solutions for transnational operations that are conducted in our offices on a daily basis, but also by being part of a constant process of creating and updating technological tools that can help European citizens when they face a cross-border situation. One of the fields in which this help is most needed is when a notarial document must be used in another member state. Also, if the document is in an electronic format, we must add a second distinctive feature, the qualified electronic signature of the notary. Next slide, please. That is why, in the context of international exchange of documents and validation of electronic signatures, some European notariats created years ago two important digital tools named EUFIDES and BARTOS. Next slide, please. Since then, we have collected a lot of information, evaluated the real needs of notaries as well as citizens, and have accomplished the proper expertise in order to evolve those systems and unify them into one. Next slide, please. This evolution is called EUdoc. It is a user-friendly application which combines in a simple and reliable way three key functions. Next slide, please. First, the secure exchange of electronic documents between European notaries. As secure is one of the main pillars in which European notarial trust is built, we must transfer this aspect also into the digital notarial transmissions. Next slide, please. Second, a tool for the reliable verification of qualified electronic signatures, including the active notary status of the sender, because citizens and receiving notaries must be able to trust that the public authority that sends a document is in fact an European notary active. Next slide, please. And third, the direct interconnection of notaries through private video conference rooms suitable up for 20 participants, allowing notaries to discuss cases or documents in a more personal manner. So far, EUdoc is fully operational IT platform developed in less than 9 months by Ansert, which is the Spanish notarial IT company, and ready to be implemented at an European level. It will be able to connect all European notaries through the point-to-point interconnection of the national notarial chambers. Next slide, please. Even though it has been created by the German Bundesnotarkammer and the Spanish Consejo General del Notariado, EUdoc aims to be an European platform that could bring all member notariats together. The platform allows each European notary to easily receive digitally time-stamped and signed documents from other notaries in order to facilitate the cross-border exchange of information. Let us now take a look at the application itself. Next slide, please. EUdoc is a multilingual and web-based application, which means that the notary can enter it from any browser. Next slide, please. To log into the secure network, the notary only needs to insert his authentication card into a card reader and enter a PIN code number. The system detects the status of active notary of the applicant and allows him to enter his personal space within the platform. Next slide, please. Here is the landing page that displays all the documents which the notary has sent or received from other notaries in the past. On the left, we can see a small menu. There is a section for drafts, if we want to save a message to maybe send it out to a receiver at a later point. We also have a send section, which is like the outbox of an email account, but also shows the current status of a conducted exchange. We can see and check whether a recipient has received, opened, or downloaded the documents transferred to him or her. Finally, we have a notification and the video conferencing section. Next slide, please. Let me now show you how to upload and send a document to another notary. After a click on Send Documents, we have to conduct just 3 easy steps. First, we have to select our recipient or recipients if there is more than one. We do so by choosing the country of the recipient and entering his surname. We could also search all the notaries in one city or even in one country. For that, the platform uses the European Directory of Notaries. Next slide, please. Once we have selected our recipient, we move on to the second step, the uploading of the previously signed document. We can define a type of document and also add a subject and a description, just like sending an email. Below, we have a drag and drop field for the documents that we would like to transfer. Next slide, please. In the third step, EUdoc has to validate the qualified electronic signature on the document file, as well as the active notary status. Within a split second, the notary receives the results together with the content of the uploaded document. EUdoc assures that the signature certificate, it's a notary certificate, which is still valid, hasn't been modified, and has been issued by a valid certifying authority. Next slide, please. Once it has been validated, it can be transferred to the recipient and the system notifies that the document has been sent successfully. Next slide, please. Once the receiving notary has downloaded and opened the file, he has access to all the documents that have been sent. Next slide, please. Also, the platform provides a sending receipt with the same information shown and controlled in the third step of the transferring process. EUdoc verifies the qualified electronic signature by checking the underlying certificate, as well as the active notary status of the sender. It also gives us a brief history of the exchange. As you can see, all of the information above is practically summed up in a PDF receipt with a timestamp and a hash, which we can also download. EUdoc is ready to go live on a European scale. The tool is state-of-the-art, secure, and user-friendly, and its main features and strengths can be summarized as follows. Next slide, please. EUdoc is a multilingual web-based platform that is compatible with national IT solutions of the notaries in Europe. EUdoc's access is in line with the eIDAS regulation. EUdoc includes a triple scope. First, the exchange of documents, the verification of notarial qualified electronic signatures, including the notary status, and direct interconnection between notaries using video conferencing systems. EUdoc can also be provided with a virtual private network to exchange documents in a more secure way. EUdoc is compliant with the European General Data Protection Regulation. It uses the data center property of the Consejo General del Notariado located in Spain, so all the data is processed within Europe. EUdoc allows to send and receive notarial documents and obtain these digitally timestamped and hashed supporting documents, which can act as a proof or evidence of the transmission. EUdoc also provides a notification system that is fully customizable by the notary for different channels, phone, email, or the web platform itself. And finally, EUdoc's technical infrastructure will be accessible 24/7. Next slide, please. As we can see, EUdoc allows the notaries in Europe to have a fully operational IT solution ready to be used by all member notariates. The interconnection between notaries in a simple and easy way will be possible shortly once the project is live and the technical requirements are met. In fact, EUdoc has been created and developed with the aim of becoming a CNUE project that unites all member notariates. Next slide, please. The project also has a European dimension, as it covers the needs of citizens all across Europe, promoting common European values as the digital interconnection, interoperability, and mutual cooperation. All of these features imply a great opportunity for us to build a real European notarial platform. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thanks a lot, Mr. BENLLOCH. Next up is Jānis SKRASTIņŠ, the President of the Council of Notaries in Latvia, who will give us a presentation about online notarial services in his country. Mr. SKRASTIņŠ, the floor is yours.
Thank you for the floor. Hello to everyone, distinguished members of European institutions, dear colleagues and audience. It is a great honor for me to share the experience of Latvian notaries toward digital transformation and using these tools in everyday notarial services. Next slide, please. In this slide, you can see the development of implementing these digital tools. Last two I will present a little bit later in my presentation. Next slide, please. So, what about this DigiNotar platform? So we call this a DigiNotar platform, and here this platform offers online video advice and remote notarial services since 1st of July 2018. And here I can give you a little bit statistics, for example, from my office, that in 6 months of 2018 and whole 2019, I have 14 video conferences, so remote certifications, 2020, almost 200, and at the end of 2021, almost 400. So you can see that, of course, this COVID-19 pandemic makes a major push of developing these remote certifications, and more and more clients and customers want to meet a notary in so-called virtual notary office. Please, next slide. So, how the DigiNotar platform works. So, client must use electronic signature, and if he or she has this electronic signature, he can carry out absolutely all notarial activities, and also can take place in multi-personal mode when several persons arrive at this virtual office, for example, to sign purchase agreement or any other documents. So technically, this consultation or certification requires sound internet, so that there are no breaks during the video call, a quiet room, web camera, microphone, e-signature, and also passport or e-ID card, and access to the online bank. So next slide, please. So now I will tell you a little bit about practical aspects, how to book an appointment. So after you have authorized and selected a notary, authorization to this portal is through state e-services portal. This also it is available for EU citizens using this EUdoc platform, and at that moment 11 EU country citizens can authorize to our portal. So next slide, please. So after you have made an appointment, you must have a quiet and bright room, preferably without windows and light, sound sources in the background, and etc. Also, you should ensure a stable internet. A successful video conference should have an internet connection without outgoing data flow restrictions. If you are using a corporate network or you can't connect due to network restrictions, try to use hotspot or your mobile phone. Also, our platform is accessible through smartphone, and you can use also your smartphones. Next slide, please. So, the conference process. What to do during online appointment? Entering our platform enables the use of camera and microphone. Make sure that the quality of the video is good, face is clearly visible, and identification document clearly legible when placed close to the camera. And the notary will start the video call at the agreed time. Also, client will receive an invitation to join the video call by email. And afterwards, you must just click on the link in the email and join the online appointment. Mostly in my practice or any notary office, the agreements or any other documents are discussed and harmonized before this video conference. So then at the video conference, notary mostly reads the deed and afterwards it can be signed. Next slide, please. Also, about legal aspects, we have also changes in our notariate law. You can see the articles, and sworn notary may make electronic deeds and certifications by using a video conferencing in the notary's information system. And also making a deed or a certification in the video conferencing mode. This mode is recorded, and this record of the video conferencing shall be kept in the notary's information system for 10 years. Next slide, please. In the video conference mode and at the notary office, it is possible to sign documents with e-signature. In Latvia, we use 3 types of e-signatures. It is implemented in every citizen's e-ID card, also is e-signature mobile, and we have also this banking services are providing private company tool Smart ID, which also has a status of qualified e-signature. And signature on the electronic document is valid also after the expiration date of the active certificates. Next slide, please. The term of electronic signature certificates tends to be shorter than the period during which it is necessary to keep the signed documents. Important to make sure that documents do not lose their validity even after the electronic signature certificate expires or is revoked. Next slide. Yes, the Smart ID, as I told before, which is a product of banking service, also can be used as a tool of authentication in DigiNotar Notary portal. And when you are ready to sign document, you can choose your signing method. So as I said before, AED card, e-signature mobile, or Smart ID. Next slide, please. And this e-signature mobiles, starting from this year to 2021, every citizen can receive at a notary office. So client need to fill in the application at the platform of mobile e-signature. Then notary is checking identity and afterwards signs agreement. Currently, this e-signature mobile can be received only in person at notary offices, but in the near future, I think we will make this electronic signature mobiles also remotely. And of course, this e-signature solution meets the requirements of the EIDS regulation. Next slide, please. And now a little bit about future. In collaboration with facial recognition platform Verif, in the end of this year, we are planning to complete the project of integration of facial recognition system into the already existing video conference tool. And through it, the notary will be able to further verify the identity of his client. Next slide, please. And also we are planning to include a tool where the notary online will be able to control its availability to the customer. So this will be the tool when a client online can see the availability of notary office calendar, so to say, and meet the notary and get the legal assistance in time convenient for the client. Also, we are planning to make a tool for anti-money laundering monitoring. So now when we are a subject of anti-money laundering, we are checking all registers, databases, and etc. And this tool will help notary to shorten the time for this research, and the information about the client will be a few clicks in the system, and in few seconds the notary will receive any information available about client. And also every day we are working in the notary information system modernization. So next slide. Thank you very much for your attention. If afterwards you have any questions, I will try to answer them. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Mr. SKRASTIņŠ, for this interesting presentation. And now, to close the series of opening presentations, let's turn to Mr. Radim NEUBAUER, President of the Chamber of Notaries in the Czech Republic. Mr. NEUBAUER is joining us online, and he will tell us more about the digitalization of notarial services in his country. Mr. NEUBAUER, the floor is yours.
Ladies and gentlemen, dear colleagues, thank you very much for the opportunity to give you some information about the state of play of digitalization in Czech Republic. In my short presentation, I will say a few words about the legal framework of the digitalization in Czech Republic, describe some key principles for the online drafting of notarial deeds, and at the end I'll show you a couple of slides about the practical side of the online drafting of notarial deeds. Next slide, please. There have been multiple projects trying to introduce the online creation of companies, but all of them have been rejected by the parliament or by the government due to the lack of legal certainty and the lack of secured identification of the clients. Notarial Chamber succeeded in introducing a system which is reliable, secure, and guarantees the check of the identity of the clients. It meets all the EIDAS requirements, and it meets and transposes the directive on the use of digital tools in company law. It's even more important to introduce such an initiative in the current days or current time, where the practical needs of the clients must be met and due to the COVID-19 restrictions. Next slide, please. The whole digitalization has been made through the amendments to a single act, and that was the act on the notarial code. So the notarial code has been pretty much prepared for such a change, and it took just a slight amendment to be able to draft and online notarial deeds. The key elements of the online creation of companies, and as you will later hear, it does not relate only to creation of companies. There is a secured video conference and a secured data room. Next slide, please. The authentication of the clients takes place in a very same way like we have already heard in case of the Belgian colleagues or Latvian colleagues. A person may prove its identity through an ID card, through the electronic ID gateway, or it's a special way in Czech Republic through a bank ID. A video conference procedure launches just after that, and during that video conference, the notary checks all data regarding the person, and he also checks that all the requirements regarding the AML or CFD are being met. This guarantees the reliability of our public registers, which is on a very high level in our country. In the near future, the system of online drafting of deeds will be connected to the state-operated citizens portal, and that would make the system even more accessible to the persons. Next slide, please. As I mentioned, the online drafting of notarial deeds is not limited just to the creation of companies. Notaries may authenticate the whole life cycle of the companies. That means any changes to the statutes of the companies, capital increase, decrease, mergers, divisions, including cross-border mergers or dissolutions of the company. Since 2015, Czech notaries have a direct access to the company's register and may provide for changes in the company's register itself. That means even during a video conference, a change may be made into the company's registry. Other features introduced by the amendment of the Notarial Code is the certification of electronic signatures, which may be made through a video conference as well, and two new registers, register of certified signatures and a register of notarial deeds. Anybody who holds a document with a verified signature or signature verified by a Czech notary may check whether the verification clause is valid, whether there is no fraud. And there are two ways to do that, either by typing the number of the clause on the website of the notarial chamber, or an easier way to scan the QR code, which is displayed on such a clause or such a notarial deed. Next slide, please. These are the slides or the print screens of the application itself. There you see the two ways to check one's identity, bank ID, or the identity check through a electronic ID card. The client has to express his consent with getting the data from such an electronic ID. Next slide, please. In case of Czech citizens, the notaries have a direct access to the state-operated register of citizens, where we see the picture of the client, including all his data, and including the information whether it is a politically exposed person. The notary makes a check whether the picture in the state register corresponds to the picture of the client in the video conference. And below, you see the notary may provide further checks on the internet, on the European sanction map, or in the other state registers, such as register regarding conflict of interest. This allows us to provide a thorough AML check during the video conference. After that, the notary has proved the identity. Next slide, please. And he discloses the documents to the clients. Here you see the result of the checks on the sanction map. Next slide, please. There are the results for searches in other state registers. Next slide, please. Once the identity has been proved, the notary discloses documents to the client. He chooses whether those documents have to be signed or whether they are just for view. And below, you see that the payment for the notarial fees and the court fees related to the creation of companies all are being made through the video conference on one session. Next slide, please. Once a deed has been approved by the client, he signs the notarial deed directly in the application. So there is no downloading of documents to clients' PCs. The signature process is being made in the application itself. Next slide, please. And that was all. Thank you for attention. And in case you have any question, comments, I'm at your disposal. Thank you very much.
Thanks very much, Mr. NEUBAUER. And now that we have heard a bit more about what the notaries are already doing when it comes to digitalization